So today we are going to be talking about October 2021 in the astrology. And let me tell you, this is a particularly powerful time. I have been looking forward to this part of the year for a while now because the tides are shifting. We have 4 planets moving direct within days of one another, and it will feel like a shift for sure. So we're going to get into that today. We're going to talk about the new moon in Libra as well as the full moon in Aries, and stick around to the end of the video. I am going to be sharing with you the best electional date for the month of October. So if you're not familiar, electional astrology is the art of selecting specific dates and times for the launch of important projects, to manifest certain desires. It is the best energy, in my view at least, that we've got in the month of October, and I'll show you the chart and explain why that is so that you can harness this powerful day for what you want to do in life. Okay, so let's just get into it because there's so much to cover here. It's such a powerful time. We've got a lot of energy, of course, in Scorpio and Libra, and we've got a cycle kicking off with Mars and the Sun. So right away on October 6th, we're starting with the new moon in Libra. And the new moon in Libra is conjunct Mars. Okay, so, this is a pretty interesting energy because Mars doesn't do so well in Libra. Libra is indecisive. Libra is about a balance of choices, and Mars wants to take immediate decisive action. So those energies tend to conflict, right? Libra is about considering all sides and taking in the viewpoints of other people, whereas Mars is rather selfish and self-oriented. So this new moon is going to ask you to, in your personal life, reevaluate your relationship to discipline, right? Are you the person who approaches yourself with loving discipline, or do you berate yourself into taking action, right? Mars is the planet of action, but Libra is about peace and harmony. Do you follow your flow and take action when inspired? Or do you sort of punish with a militant expression of discipline to get yourself to act, right? So those are some of the questions that'll come up around this time of the new moon in Libra because of that conjunction to Mars. And at the collective level, this is going to be a powerful time where we see action taken toward the direction of new changes related to law, because Libra rules the justice system and law, and it is responsible for keeping the peace, but conjunct Mars, it will be difficult to do so. Mars is the energy of fighting, right? So I'm interested to see what plays out as this cycle kicks off over the next 30 days following the 6th of October, as well as the next 6 to 12 months. This is going to be a time of new beginnings with the justice system and the laws that we have. It will be very difficult to keep the peace around this time. The Sun conjunct Mars kicks off a new cycle, right? Every time a planet comes around to conjunct the Sun, that's the start of a new cycle. And when the planet passes by the Sun representing sort of the godlike energy in astrology, this is a moment where that planet sort of receives its instructions or its download from God, so to speak, from the Sun, of what it will carry out through the next cycle. So as this cycle is beginning in Libra, this is going to be a time where I think it will be difficult to keep the peace, and a lot of changes can be expected with the law, justice, and military systems. So I'm not trying to fearmonger here, but one very simple expression for this that I wouldn't be surprised to see would be sort of like martial law situations, particularly in the US, which is undergoing its Pluto return that's building now as it comes exact for February. So I will have a more detailed video on the new moon in Libra, but that is happening on the 6th, as well as Pluto stationing direct on the very same day, just a few hours later after that new moon becomes exact. So Pluto has been asking, Pluto at the collective level, and it's much more of a collective influence, has been responsible for a lot of issues of power abuse and manipulation, and issues with, it's that 8th house theme, so taxes and fines, fees and debts, and legislation in the US is certainly heading towards the direction of taxes as we speak. So that energy is presently building by the time you're seeing this video. Then moving on October 7th, we have Venus in Sagittarius. So Venus is in its detriment in Scorpio, so this past transit of Venus has been particularly challenging, where you might have maybe felt a little bit restricted in love. But as we move into Sagittarius, this placement actually does a lot better here. And Venus being the planet of relationships, you're going to find yourself seeking maybe a little bit more adventure in love. The trouble with Venus and Sagittarius is that Sagittarius can be a little bit non-committal. So you might have maybe this grass is always greener sort of feeling, but trust that if you are seeking a philosophical discussion and expansion of yourself and your spirit and growth through your partnerships, that they can actually feel quite satisfying. And I expect this time to feel a little bit lighter than it has while in Scorpio. At the collective level, though, Venus is more about our values, right? What do we value? It's not just the planet of relationships, it's also the planet of value. In Sagittarius, the things that Venus values is a higher truth, a relationship with spirituality, a relationship with God, the wisdom we collect experientially, and putting it into practice for freedom, for adventure, for growth. So that energy is in direct contrast to some of the things we've been experiencing as a result of the Pluto-Eris square this year, as a result of the Saturn-Uranus square this year, and the themes that we see playing out at the collective level. But it will help support us on a personal level to take Mars-directed action, right? Mars-directed action for that new moon, to stand up for what we believe in, and to do so backed by spiritual truth. That's what Venus and Sagittarius will be. It's values rooted in a spiritual integrity. On October 10th, Saturn will be stationing direct. It has been retrograde since May of this year, and that has been, I don't like Saturn directs. They don't feel that great. It's an internalized energy of intense focus on discipline and the structures we have in place, the boundaries we have with ourselves, the boundaries we have with other people. That energy now will prompt you to consider what changes you've made since May of 2021, I'm sorry, with as it relates to the responsibilities you have for yourself, for other people, and in your life. And as it moves direct, you'll see sort of the fruits of your labor or lack thereof, right? The consequences of your actions become apparent now as Saturn moves direct. Where you built structures that support you, they will begin to bear fruit. And maybe where you have needed to clean up your boundaries but have failed to do so, those things will become obvious as Saturn stations direct. Just days later, on October 17th, Jupiter will be stationing direct. This is actually happening on, depending on your time zone, it's in the middle of the night, so it could actually be October 18th. If you're in Central Time, it'll be about 1 in the morning on the 18th. Jupiter stationing direct is good news for us all. We could really use the forward momentum, externalized growth. When Jupiter is retrograde, it's focused on internal growth. So with Saturn retrograde at the same time, this has been an intense period of internal growth for all of us that came through challenge, right? And as both of these planets move direct now, we'll begin to experience more open doors, opportunity, more ease, more flow in our external environment. And it's almost as if the growth and challenge and stress and strain that we've been put under the past several months has prepared us for a dicier time in the astrology for the rest of the year, so that we'll be able to navigate it effectively. On the same day, October 18th, Mercury is moving direct after its retrograde period, which will be, and has been already, a rather intense one. You can check out my Mercury retrograde video for more details on that one. But on October 18th, it will be stationing direct, which means the planet of our mental faculties comes right back online. You stop seeing mishaps with your car, with your travel, with commutes, with contracts, with getting business done, right? Because Mercury rules commerce, and things begin to flow more smoothly with all 4 planets direct. We have that forward momentum. It's time to get out there and get ahead, because the planets have been all localized on the below the horizon in the native zodiac, right? In the earlier part of the year, they're below the horizon. So this is a time of focusing on home, focusing on family, focusing on self and the work that we do every day and our internal growth and how we learn. As the planets begin to transition now to the top half of the zodiac, above the horizon, we're much more focused on connecting with the outside world, right? And showing up and being seen. So this is the period of time that we're moving into as we transition through this fall equinox period in Libra. And then on October 20th, we've got the full moon in Aries. Wow, what a powerful one, because it will be activating by square to the US's natal Pluto. Okay? And it's been squaring, Pluto has been squaring Eris in the transits, Monday in astrology right now. So we're getting a major activation of the US's Pluto and the US's natal chart. So this is going to be a time where we begin to see, I believe, some of what's to come with the US and the economic system. So you might see some messaging around that with the full moon in Aries. But this one is red hot fire. It's all about taking action, speaking up, standing up for what you value, trusting in your beliefs, trusting in your will, trusting in your determination for what you want to see in the world, and rebelling against what everybody else thinks and says and tells you to do. This is about owning who you are, full moon in Aries. So I will be putting out a video on that one as well, more detailed. October 22nd, the sun moves into Scorpio. This is a period of transformation where you let an old version of you die, right? And I think that goes well with the full moon in Aries, because if the full moon in Aries is all about standing up and owning who you are with that square to Eris and Pluto, if it's about speaking up and owning the way that you've changed, the way that your mind has changed, the way your opinions have changed, the way that you have grown as a result of all these retrograde placements, the sun in Scorpio says, we're letting this past version of me die, right? This month-long period will be about the rebirth of the new self. It will feel like a black and white sort of reality in the collective, but I think we're going to have a discerning eye to be able to detect the truth, because that's what Scorpio is all about. And especially as Mars moves into Scorpio on the 30th, this will bring an intense, obsessive, energetic focus on getting down to the truth at the collective level, right? There can be a lot of heated discussion, a lot of fear, a lot of people trying to control and manipulate you, people fighting, right? That's, this is a lot of energy here, but Mars actually rules Scorpio in traditional astrology. So its energy does quite well here to sort of act on our passions, act our will. Scorpio is a magnetic, manifestive energy. So this is a time where you're just going to want to stay steadfast, focused on what it is you want to create, because there's going to be a lot of distractions out there. There's going to be a lot of people trying to steal your energy. There's going to be a lot of people trying to manipulate you and hide and deceive you from the truth. So use your scorpion keen eye of discernment to get through that one, and let the rest go. Don't obsess over it. So, that's in brief what we've got for October, and I want to show you what I think will be our best electional date. Okay, so this was a challenging month because we've got so many planets who are going to be, in retrograde for a great period of the time, and I wanted to find something that you could do to actually leverage the Mercury retrograde in a beneficial way. Because if you've followed my content, you know that I believe that Mercury retrogrades are actually quite a special time for getting things in order, and that you can harness this energy effectively as long as you sort of trust in the way that you will be redirected through this time, and trust that it's for your good. So I chose October 9th here, and if you want to play with this on your own time, you can do so on astro.com by plugging in this date for your location, change it to your location, and you can sort of change the time back and forth to get the ascendant to be on Sagittarius. I think that that's a beneficial time, because then that makes Jupiter the ruler of this chart, and Jupiter coming direct soon and involved in that trine to Mercury here. This is a beneficial energy. You want Jupiter to be the ruler of whatever you initiate on this day around this time, right? Because that is the great benefic, the bringer of good fortune, and it will expand on everything it touches. So you've got a lot of really powerful energy here. Now, of course, you've got that Pluto-Eris square. It's been prominent the entirety of this year, but I think that there is a lot you can work with here, being that the Sun conjunct Mars, conjunct Mercury, exact at 16 degrees, trining Jupiter. So this is a very, very powerful time. This cycle here between Mars, Mercury, and the Sun will last for 2.5 years. So whatever you initiate around this time is going to be the focus of your energy. This is going to be what consumes your energy. This is where you direct your energy for the next 2.5 years. So take this electional date seriously, because it will be the focal point of your mental faculty and your energy. That's Mercury and Mars. And of course, it will be benefited by that trine to Jupiter. Great positive outcomes for whatever you are spending your energy on here. It is making some harsher aspects to Eris. It makes an opposition here, but I see this as sort of a beneficial thing. It's very wide. Oh, I'm sorry. I misspoke. It's not making an opposition to Eris. It's making an opposition to Chiron. So Chiron is the energy of the wounded healer, and this is something that you can capitalize on to spread more healing into the world, right? It's an area where you've been wounded, but now you are empowered to spread a message of healing, to bring more good into the world. So you've got to integrate your will. You've got to integrate your changed mind about something, a new perspective that is unfolding for you through this Mercury retrograde. You have to stand up and be willing to embrace that and set the ego aside, right? Integrate the ego, the sun, with the energy of that purposeful work here. Yeah, so you've also got that square going on to Pluto. So there's going to be a lot of intensity, right? It is going to be probably a strong focal point, but squares aren't always bad, right? Squares are also something that can bring a lot of grit and a lot of energy. And with Pluto, that is magnetic, right? Pluto is the magnetic attractor, the manifester. So, you know, this is the date that I really like, because you've also got the moon and the south node and Venus here in a conjunction in Sagittarius. So this is all about feeling really emotionally motivated to use our natural gifts, right? Combined with our philosophical and spiritual values, that's the south node and Venus, and strong, expansive, intuitive power, the moon in Sagittarius, to sort of put in motion whatever it is we're really focusing on creating here that will last over the next 2.5 years. And you can activate by intent this sextile to Saturn. And so the lot of fortune is pretty wide here. I wouldn't really count that energy as being too prominent, but you can activate a supportive sextile to Saturn, which will bring you commitment and positive results that are built slowly over time, right? So it gives you steadfast commitment. And with Jupiter, that's a positive result, Jupiter being the ruler of this chart. This is the time that I would choose, right? Because I'm really particularly interested in the Sun, Mercury, and Mars being conjunct here just days after the new moon. Just days after the new moon. So at the new moon, Mercury isn't as tightly involved in this conjunction. It's still very tight, but on this day, you can sort of begin to take your first action step toward whatever it is you set your intent on October 6th. So that is my recommendation for your electional date for the month of October. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you in the next one with Energy, Sarah.